tutor, and maybe eventually I'll need an assistant for the office.
Okay. All right. Any members of the commission have any questions? George, pull the microphone down.
Oh, yeah, that would help.
It will.
I can still talk pretty loud, though.
No, I know, but
The site has a lot of trash, including a truck out back, right?
I believe there's a truck out there, yeah.
Oh, there is one, yeah. Yeah, derelict truck. And the landscaping, in my opinion, and this is open discussion here, there needs some overall improvement. Particularly, there's some out front that's coming over the sidewalk, so that's got to be worked on. You got to paint the parking lines, bring that up to speed. I don't know what else you plan to do, if anything. Parking lot's in pretty good shape, actually. But overall improvement of the site is really what it gets down to. Those last couple of items I mentioned. And then I want to discuss later in the commission meeting how far back, and I'll talk again, Mr. Chairman, I'll get into some historic aspect of this strip of homes along that side of the highway and what was done a few years ago. Do you mind my getting into a little bit of planning type concept? But, I don't know how much it has to do with her, because what it involves, my discussion, is how far back beyond the parking lot do you require them to clean up? I mean, is it 10, 20 feet back there or what, that kind of thing. But, it goes right back to Beaver Brook, and I assume the property goes all the way back.
yeah, I think you get into wetlands issues as you get in closer.
That's what I mean, and my discussion would be to have a meeting with the Inland Wetlands Commission on that whole area back there, all the way up from Nott Street up, because I'm not saying that we could do anything about it, but I think we ought to at least be cleaning a little bit back of the parking lots along there for general maintenance. But it's something that goes way back, Rich, 30 years ago maybe, when we discussed that whole strip of properties along. We thought as a commission back in those days that eventually owners would get together and take down a few of the houses there and maybe put up a commercial building or two, maybe of some sort. But anyway, that's something else.
Yeah, we can pick that up during general comments, because actually she's not proposing to do any site work, just the special permit.
If I can just add, I think there was some landscaping done probably yesterday, because I drove by it today and it looked a little cleaner.
Thank you.
Joe, then Shoni.
Sure. Other than the 2:30 to 6:30, I think is when you said you'd have students there, will there be staff or other people there, in the morning or at any other times of day?
I don't foresee that right now. It'll just be me. Mainly, I'll probably be there about 2 o'clock.
Okay.
Just to set up, and then I'll open at 2:30, even though school gets out at 3.
And in terms of the number of students, are you physically limited in terms of how many you can comfortably fit there?
Yeah, I would say 6 to 10.
Okay.
Question, you mentioned a dance class, possibly. Will the occupancy get greater than 7 with those classes? And will there be any noise issues with the residents above?
That's a great question. I've already talked to her about that, because I want to be able to, play music, or, if they want to dance with each other, because TikTok is a huge thing. She loves kids, and she said it's not a problem. They do live upstairs, and I've been in communication with her this whole time. She's really nice. She met my kids and stuff. The dance teacher's not set in stone, it's just an idea that I had in case they get bored.
Okay.
Something to offer.
All right, Tony?
You don't own the property, I assume you're going to be leasing?
Yes, sir.
And how long a term will the lease be?
2 years.
2-year term? Okay, I'm a little surprised that the hours are so limited, 3 to 6?
Yeah, 3 to 6 on weekdays, optional Saturdays.
I would think there's a big desire for something like this, too.
I think
Are
so,
you thinking
too.
about enlarging, spreading the hours out a little bit more? And
Yes. In the summertime, I haven't gotten to that yet. I wanted to get approved, but I was thinking about being open in the summer if I get approved, and possibly birthday parties on Saturdays, things like that. So I do foresee a lot of kids wanting to sign up.
so if we approve this application, is it something we should be talking about tonight with the possibility of extending the hours? So you won't have to come back, or you're dedicated to these restricted hours?
Well, I would like to be able to be open on Saturdays.
Okay, Peter?
I'm curious about the occupancy. How are you going to control how many kids are going to show up? Do you close the doors if
So,
there's not enough?
Yeah, I know. So there's an app that I'm going to have their parents download, and then they will sign up 3 days. So once I know, like, they'll sign up for the month. Some people will sign up for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and the other group will sign up Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday.
Okay.
And so that's how I'll control making sure that there's not too many.
So it's not going to be a walk-in,
No, it can't
by
be.
appointment?
Yes, they have to pay by the month.
Okay, and you also mentioned that you may want to do some parties, and how many people would you expect then?
I haven't put that much thought into it yet. I'm going to focus on the homework lounge after-school program first, and then, but I thought of that as being an option.
So will you come back and ask for, are you asking for party use as well tonight? Or is this something you want to do in the future?
I mean, I didn't realize, if I'm allowed to open on Saturdays, I would assume that would be okay to have a party. I'm not sure.
Well, the question then becomes how much parking you have, and is it safe for people, and how many people are you going to have? So if you want to have a party, you really have to define that for us. Otherwise, it's kind of an open,
I would say like a small birthday party. It's not going to be advertised or anything like that. I was thinking in the future, but if I did have a party, it would still be controlled. There couldn't be a lot of kids. The neighbors live upstairs. There's about 8 spots parking. Most of the kids live in walking distance though, and they're old enough that they can walk, so I wouldn't foresee it being like any more than 10 people. It would still have to be within, the place is not that big, so it wouldn't be like a ton of people. It would just be kids. It wouldn't be like adults, so.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, open-ended, vague parties are a little bit beyond what's written here, and I'd like to see it up and running before I
Right.
open the door that wide. Just out of curiosity, how does this differ from like a daycare? Is it because of the age of the kids that you don't have to license as that, or is there some other?
Yeah, it's more like a coffee shop without the coffee. It's just a safe place, like they can scan in, and then their parents will be able to see on their cell phones when their kids scan in. And then I'll, do homework with them after school so their parents can make sure their homework's done, and then they can hang out with their friends. And I will be there at all times, so.
Okay. Are there any things like this in the area?
No.
Okay. Anybody else have questions?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to clarify, is this going to be open Saturdays as well? I'm confused on that point.
I would like it to be,
So you're asking for Monday through Friday plus Saturday?
correct.
What hours on Saturday?
I would think like Saturday 10 to 3.
Okay. Don, did you have any staff comments on this? I know that you had reviewed the parking and so forth and found it to be adequate.
Yes.
For the kind of the nearest comparable use. Were there any other comments, concerns, anything that either you or staff had we should talk about?
No, like Ms. Pinkerton just said, I don't know of anything very similar, anything that is like this around. So obviously the people who wrote the zoning regulations never thought of this use, so we don't have that listed. So we looked around, and I believe that the daycare, school, personal use, personal service type of uses are very similar. So, you know, and it would be up to that's why Ms. Pinkerton is here before you, because you have to make that determination. What is a similar, you know, is it a similar use to other permitted uses in the zone? And also the parking. I went and looked at those uses for the parking situation. And the closest I came was to personal uses. If you apply the school use, if you apply recreation use, she would be required like a half a space less than if you apply the service use. And the service use would require, I believe, four uses, four parking spaces based upon the square footage, and the 4 plus the 2 that is required for the residential structure, that would give you 6 spaces. So she's below the number of spaces that are there, and she's not proposing any outdoor changes. We did run it past the engineering department, and they didn't have any comments on it because there's nothing being done outside, and as Commissioner had said, that the pavement is in pretty good shape, and we didn't have any comments there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and I guess frankly, I'm somewhat less concerned about the parking because at least in Wethersfield, not all 7th and 8th graders have a license to drive cars. And I wouldn't assume that all the parents would drive and arrive at exactly the same moment
Exactly.
like happens at all the schools.
Mm-hmm.
All right, anybody else have anything before I open it to the public?
You won't be open at night, so we don't have to worry about lighting or anything in the back. Is the paving in good condition? And
Indecent.
it's decent?
All right. Thank you. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to comment on this application? Anybody at all from the public on this one? Okay. If not, do you have any final comments, questions?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we have nothing more for her? All right, somebody want to make a motion to close the hearing?
Should I move to close?
Second.
Okay, motion by Joe, second by George. All in favor of closing the hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman,
Yep,
I am abstaining from all votes pertaining to this application.
okay. Thank you. That's Tom Deane. All right, does somebody want to make a motion so that we can start a discussion?
I'll move to approve the application as submitted, and I guess the one clarification from the applicant was that in addition to Monday through Friday, 2:30 to 6 p.m. hours, Saturday, I think she said would be 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
All right, motion made by Joe, seconded by Tony. Any discussion? All right, if not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention?
Abstain?
Okay. Commissioner Deane's abstained. Okay, congratulations.
Good luck.
All right, second item.
Sharon, can I just say something to her?
Sure.
Amy, you got, come by the office and we'll give you the appropriate papers that you have to sign and put on file. Okay, thank you.
All right, next item, 3.2, public hearing 210222Z, Frank J. Citino, seeking a re-subdivision in accordance with the Wethersfield zoning regulations and subdivision regulations, Article 2, for the creation of 3 lots at 248 Nott Street. And Could you just please identify yourself?
Sure.
by
My name is
address?
Frank Citino,
Chairman,
387 Wells Road, Wethersfield. Good evening. Nice to be in person again, although Zoom wasn't bad. Thank you very much. As the board knows, I've been here on 2 other occasions. It might even have been 3.
Or
Several.
4 or 5.
Several different scenarios had taken place. One was even brought to my attention of possibly going with a larger complex. I decided against all that. I've decided I'd like to put up 3 properties. 2 single-family, 1 two-family. Single-family lots require 6,000 square feet. On Lot 1, I can't read that far.
I didn't even know they had filters.
There we go. Beautiful. You made my life easy. I owe
Good to
you.
see you back,
Thank you.
Frank.
Thank you.
I mean, I didn't know how many times you're gonna come back here.
I think we have it, but we're going to see. I think we have some questions tonight, though, which I'll be happy to
Yes,
answer.
you did. You always ask questions.
I can use it in my office.
Small fee.
Beautiful.
That's my question. So just right now.
You got it. Your first name is? Derrick. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Oh, Derrick, you're from the engineer. Derrick from the, not Derrick the engineer, no. Derrick's the engineer. Okay, I said, you got it. Thank you. So on lot number 1, I propose to put a 2-family house. Zoning requirement of 7,500 square feet. Our proposal for that lot is 12,980 square feet. Zoning requirements for parking, I believe, are 3. We're proposing 6. We meet all the sidelines, we meet side yard setbacks, etc. There are multiple 2-families in the neighborhood. It's in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. Lot number 2, we propose a single-family house. And lot number 2 is 13,367 square feet. We need 6,000 square feet. We meet all the setbacks. We exceed the zoning requirements. Lot number 1, we propose a single-family house, required 6,000 square feet. We're proposing 9,148 square feet, and we meet all zoning requirements. We're not seeking any variances of any type. I've decided to go this route because it's less congested. I had a proposal for 4 building lots, still exceeding all existing zoning requirements. I live in the town. I thought it was a bit too congested. I'm happy with 3. I don't know what else I can offer other than new construction tends to be an improvement to the neighborhood if it's done properly. If anyone's concerned, I've built several homes in the community, and I'll be happy to provide those addresses along with my customers for dialogue if they want to see what type of product I build. It's going to be beautifully landscaped. There'll be 2 colonials, a 2-family house. I've built this house probably 100 times. Many to be seen, 20 years old, 25 years old, and they still look new today. And I can provide those addresses also. Many of them in Hartford. I don't know what else to offer, gentlemen. I think I've brought forth a proposal that meets the requirements that were asked of me, because when I first came before the board, we had some comments, and I took them into consideration. I think I've demonstrated that here. So I don't know what else I can offer. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. One caveat, I believe our drawings provide all of the information requested by engineering with the exception of one document, and that would be the drainage. Drainage is not required on the 1 or 2-family parcel. It is required if I build a 2-family property. The cost for those draining calculations are $5,000. That's just the way it is. I heard a comment earlier in this room, things are so good, just double your fees. bear with me a second. Things just,
You mean they don't, the town and the engineers do not require,
so
feds don't require off-site drainage in this particular site? I mean, issues with it?
no, well, keep in mind, right now, this parcel currently has 2 building lots. This is, in the town records, this is 2 building lots. I'm only looking to add a third building lot. But I'm only seeking tonight for the approval of 3 lots. Once those lots are approved, I can't build tomorrow. I then need to resubmit 3 individual packages for each parcel, which then once again need to satisfy building department, engineering, and zoning. Only after that package is approved can I build. But for me to stand here tonight and say, I'm definitely going to build a 2-family, when I build, I may build another single-family. So why should I need to spend $5,000 tonight for the approval of a lot that I can either build a 1 or 2-family on? When the time comes to construct that property, I then need to submit those documents that are required for that project. Single-family property does not require drainage calculations. As far as I know, it has never been brought to my attention. It's the first question I asked of Peter. Do we have any concerns with floodplain? He said none whatsoever. You're good. So that was never an issue, ever. I don't believe it's an issue now, and that property's been here since, one of the things I may try and do, I cannot guarantee. There's a lot of history to the house that's standing there. Just for folks who don't know, I don't buy a piece of property, the folks who lived in that home, the 2 sons, moved to Springfield, Illinois, and became very good friends with Abraham Lincoln because they opened up a newspaper called the Saginaw News. And Abraham Lincoln, who was a young attorney, would walk into their office and they would give him literature, or he would review their editorials. So there's a lot of history there in that house. But the house is we're talking $500,000 to save that house. I can't do it. I can't do it. I would love to. As of right now, I don't think I can. I looked into that option. I went and I gutted the house out to see how it's constructed. I don't think it's possible. I haven't completely ruled it out, but I don't think it's possible. So I mention that because I don't want someone to think that I just come in and buy a piece of property and that's why the house is still standing, by the way, and just take it down. And if I did take the house down, the wood in that house is all chestnut wood. Furniture makers would die for that wood. I have people begging me for the wood, and I will give it to them, although the wood's worth about $30,000 today. They'll make beautiful furniture out of it. There's a lot of history, there's a lot of value to it. I don't think I can salvage it. I looked at that option. So I think the proposal I brought forward here tonight is in keeping with the community. Multiple single families, multiple 2-families, brand new construction. I will provide you names, addresses of customers for homes that I've built 20 years ago, 10 years ago. 90% of them are very well maintained and look very good today. I don't know what else to offer, gentlemen. So I'm happy to answer any questions because we have quite a crowd here tonight. I'm happy to do that.
Tony?
Yes.
Frank, if we are approving this tonight, you would probably have to qualify that lot number 1 would not exceed 2 units?
And it would not exceed 2 units.
Period. And then
Possibly 1 would not exceed 2.
keep 2 and 3 as 1 family.
And 1 or 2 have to be because of the zoning requirements, because of the frontages that are required. Lot 2 and 3 would have to remain a single family. I could have built 2 2-families and 1 single family on this
That's not
property.
before us tonight.
I didn't want to do that. I'm just presenting that had their options, and I live right around the corner.
Are the utilities underground?
They'll all be underground.
Everything will be
Everything, electric, gas, water, obviously.
This is a big change, and I'm grateful that you lessened the density that
Yes.
you were originally going for.
Yes.
And just for the minutes, I think I did mention that between here, your site and Cumberland Avenue, I believe there's over 20, if not close to 32 family homes
Correct.
on that stretch of this. So
Yes.
you're pretty much in concert with the rest of the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Peter?
Yeah, I don't have the back history on this, since I'm new on the commission. I'm just curious, you mentioned the drainage in two-family. Could you explain that again? I'm confused
So
about.
for whatever reason, the existing code requires runoff. They want to make sure that the amount of runoff coming from the roof and the parking area is not going to encroach upon the surrounding properties. So they require drainage calculations
For a two-family.
for a two-family. Now, the perplexing part about this is, if I build a single, I'm going to build a single family on a 6,000 square foot lot, and I cover that lot by 50%. I don't need any drainage calculations. But if I put a two-family on a lot that's 2.25 times the size of a single family, I need drainage calculations. I can't fight the system.
All right.
They just want to know where the water's
So
going
the
to go.
requirement for two-family is you will need drainage calculations.
Correct.
That you'll have to pay for at some point in the
It's
future.
$5,000.
In the
Now, in
future.
the event there's too much runoff, then we have to put underground.
So you may opt not to do a two-family?
Correct.
That's what you're saying, right?
I may opt not to. And that is why what I'm asking the board is an approval of 3 lots with the understanding and the stipulation that I still need to represent, not to the board, but I still need to represent this project all over again to the town engineer and to the town building department. So I need to satisfy Derrick and his engineering if I go the two-family on runoff. I need to satisfy Derrick on his cutoff, on his curb cuts, utilities, et cetera, sidewalks. This process starts all over again.
Yeah, normally, I think that's all done as part of the site plan. If you look at this as an overall site plan.
Right.
Drainage, if you're intending on doing two-family, drainage would have to be considered. It may not be a problem, and you may
Right.
not have to do anything, but somehow that has to be determined. I don't know if you can do that singly, as you're suggesting.
Well, no, I've already spoken to Derrick. I was on the phone with the
You
surveyor.
said okay?
If I build the 2 parcels that will contain, will contain the one-family homes, no drainage calculations required. If they require a sump pump, and we won't know that until after we excavate, but knowing the neighborhood the way I do, I don't believe I'll need a sump pump on this property. I'm 95% sure, but that other 5% sometimes kicks you in the backside. If I need a sump pump, then I have to go back to Derrick, we need a sump pump, and we have to put a chamber in the ground to retain that water, which merely allows the water to percolate into the ground over a period of time. That's if we need a sump pump. The two-family house will require the drainage, but only the two-family parcel. And I've had that conversation already.
All right. Anybody else? Dave or Joe have any questions at this point? Dave, other Dave. Okay.
The parking on the north side can that be right up to the line like that? The parking on the north side, can that be right up to the boundary like that? Or do we need more space?
I have not reviewed it detailed.
Okay.
And so, that is definitely,
What do you look at? I mean, you
Yeah.
probably looked at that, right?
I was told it's fine.
Okay.
I think
Some-
it's
someone's
because
gonna
it's
look at it.
residential to residential.
Oh, I
I
see.
mean, if this was a commercial development that abutted a
Did you
residential
go
zone,
right
you'd
up, you go
need,
right up to the line?
you'd need 15 feet if it was commercial. I think for residential, you can go within,
3, I think.
yeah.
There are 2 reasons for the layout the way it is. One, zoning had asked for 6. And I said, no problem, I'll give you 6. It makes sense. I said, I'll give you 6 parking spaces. The other reason for it, if I were to put it into the rear of the property, I kill the backyard. What's the quality of life? I have 5 grandchildren, they like a place to play. So whoever moves into this property needs a place to play. I envision the two-family having some children.
Yeah, I mean, and I think as we discussed in the pre-application conferences, I mean, neither of these streets is really conducive to on-street parking
No.
as you get to
No,
that corner.
that's why I had no problem with the 6.
Frank, you haven't talked the town or the state into reconstructing the interchange before you do all this?
Well, with the Biden infrastructure plan, maybe we'll get some money for it, I don't know.
We can make it a rotary.
I don't even live near there, and it's interesting.
No, I actually spent a lot of time here, watching the school coming in and out. Coming up Nott Street and going down Nott Street, there's traffic there in the morning. Wolcott Hill's not a problem. It's that coming up and down Nott Street for the school at the end.
I think a lot of the people that would be coming down Wolcott Hill go down one of the other ones.
They probably do, yeah.
Yeah, I used to live on one of the other ones.
Okay, so you know.
Yeah. Is that all you have at this point?
I don't know what else to offer. I'm sure there's some questions. I'd be happy to answer
Yeah,
them.
that's what I was going to.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks.
All right. Should I stay here and answer any questions, or?
No, you
Yeah,
can
all
sit
right.
down, we'll listen to them,
Thank
and
you.
you can come back
Thank you very
at
much.
the end and respond to whatever. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to comment on this application? If you do, please come on up. Just give us your name and address for the record over there.
Sure, I will take a look at that plan as I speak, though, if that's okay. Hi, gentlemen, my name is Michael McEwen, I live on Flower Street.
Okay.
How you doing, Frank? Quick question, I know you said there isn't any drainage plan necessary. Can you flip to your soil erosion after I have this question? Now,
Watch out, you gotta get near the mic, I think.
that's difficult to do. According to the contour lines, topologically, this parcel is at the top of a hill. Now, if there are no drainage plans that are needed, and your dry well is needed as well, that's going to change. Once you disturb the earth in such a large parcel, it's going to change the drainage of almost the entire block when you do that. So that's my only statement to that. I understand that you want to put 3 lots. It looks like it's big enough. It looks like a whole acre, so everyone's going to have, what, like 0.33 of a...
No, there's no.
Except for this guy with the easement onto Nott Street, or Wolcott Hill, rather. So, can you flip to your soil erosion plan? Is that possible?
There's no.
Oh, this is the only thing you brought?
Well, no, I'm sorry, there's multiple drawings, but it's not a soil erosion.
Okay.
Yeah, there is.
So if a drainage plan isn't needed, isn't required by law, then it may be needed just to maintain the drainage to river that we have on this block. Not to give you more problems or more cost, but once you do disturb the earth, which I assume you're gonna strip that down, pull it all the way out, dig.
Absolutely.
Yep, dig 3 foundations,
Yeah.
and then you'll see.
When we do the foundations, it's a surgical excavation.
Oh, I understand, I've seen it. I've been in construction for a while.
Michael, there is a soil erosion plan.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, and I think the other thing that, while you're doing that, the soil and erosion and sediment control plan is required because this is more than half an acre. That's a separate requirement without necessarily weighing in on the issue of whether there's a problem. It's just a requirement whenever more than half an acre is going to be disturbed by development.
So yeah, that's really my only consideration, because I know that the way the water falls on this particular block, and I know the low spots, and there's actually, if you take a look at the contour lines, it's actually a lower spot. If you go just beyond where it says NF Point or John, that's a dip. So whatever you do, whatever you do on the top of this hill is going to pretty much dictate the drainage for the remainder of the whole block. So I know that he said it wasn't required, but it may be necessary. I think that's really my only concern. Unless we can take a look at your erosion plan, which I don't
When
think.
you're speaking of, you're talking about soil, you're talking about containment.
Yes.
Under construction.
Yes.
We need to put up, actually, that would be.
Silt fence,
With the silt
fencing.
fence, day hails, et cetera. And so we protect the property while under construction. That's all part, that's something that I need to satisfy with the building department and the engineering department. There may be something on there, but it's going to change with each individual application. So I may, depending on how I go about this, I may build all 3 at once. I may build one at a time. But as I do it, I need to, so I know the low spot. I need to provide the silt fence. You install your silt fence, you return it, you put dirt on top of it. You can put your bale, there's a bunch of things that you do for protection. If there are any, catch basins in the neighborhood, we need to put a sack inside that catch basin.
Yeah.
So yes, we control.
Just concerns during construction, like that.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
What should I do with this?
No, you can just put it down on
Okay.
the thing there. All right, yes, ma'am.
I have a few questions. The 6 parking spaces they abut my property on Flower Street?
Excuse me, could you comment to us, and then
I'm sorry. Okay.
at the end, we'll get him to respond to everything, because just kind of want to keep this a little more confined rather than just have it be a sideways conversation that
Sure.
people can't hear.
Okay. The 6 parking places will be, they abut my property and the house that's on Wolcott Hill. And that's a lot of paved area where that would not absorb water. So Michael's comment is even more important because that's that much more water that won't be absorbed and would just go over into the Flower Street property. And that's, my house is one of those.
May I address that?
That-
May I address it, your concern?
If you're going to address it, come on up here so that we get it on the record. I mean,
I have more comments. Should I stay up here?
That's fine. Just let me know when, because I think I'll make a very...
yeah, I mean, I had already tried to tell you when it was your turn, but it didn't seem to stick.
I apologize.
Okay.
So should I go on to my
Yes.
next?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. Also, I have a row of trees and shrubs along the back that would be right at the parking lot. And I'm concerned, I've had this experience before because I've had houses built, and heavy equipment kills trees, kills shrubs, kills trees. I would want to make sure that there was some kind of a fence under the canopy of the trees so that I wouldn't have a bare area looking at a parking lot afterwards. And then also, I think that considering that we'd be looking at a parking lot and possibly trash cans and whatever else, and that it would be good to have a 6-foot fence along the entire row of, I guess, Lot 1, going all the way to Wolcott Hill Road. And I didn't see that on the plan. Michael brought up the drainage, and I noticed the contour lines go right into my property. And then, I don't know if I ever have a right to comment on this, but I'm concerned about the appearance when I look out when I'm out in my yard or I look out my back door. Will there be a privacy screen for things like trash cans, or at least have that 6-foot fence so that I'm not looking at?
It's the preservation of property value.
That's right, yeah. And they're my concerns, but are they being noted here so that everything is, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry, we didn't get your name.
Oh, Elizabeth Pirro, 35 Flower Street.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public in the back?
Hi, Mark Ablin from 192 Wolcott Hill Road, and the biggest concern I have is the 6 parking spaces, because really, like, the first 3 are right up against the fence, and they're going to be pointing right at my bedroom window, all those vehicles, and then, having to listen to them run, it's pretty close to the house, and, I don't know what improvements could be done with that, or changes or whatnot, but that's a, pretty large concern of mine.
Okay.
But maybe a fence, I don't even know if 6 feet's tall enough, maybe 8 or something.
Well, just so that we have a point of reference, your property is lower than that one in that area or higher?
It's right, it abuts it, so it's on Wolcott Hill.
Right.
I think it's pretty much even,
Okay.
so
And how far from the property line do you think your house is?
maybe 10 feet, 15?
Okay.
That close.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
I mean,
close.
yeah, that's the setback in the C-zone.
By law, he can't take water on his property, or this property, and disperse it on your property. Right? That's ancient law, goes way back. People don't realize that, but you can't do that. So he's not gonna, don't worry, he'll take your laying off of its property.
No, he was talking about headlights, not,
I know.
we don't have ancient law about headlights.
Right.
Lanterns.
Yeah, candles. All right,
That's all.
thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else from the public have any comments or questions? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Diva DeBella, and I live at 192 Wolcott Hill Road. My house would be where the, 4 out of the 6 parking spaces are. First and foremost, I guess, there's going to be some sort of parking there. There's going to be something regardless. I'm not here to, dispute that by any means. However, I don't necessarily want to, hear the cars, like my boyfriend had mentioned. I don't necessarily know if I want headlights in the morning in my bedroom window, which is where they'd be facing, a landscape buffer of some sort. I don't know if that was on the plans. I've kind of peeked briefly at them before I came in, but I didn't really go through them. If that's an option, I would truly appreciate that. That'd be great for a little bit of just, I mean, I had originally wanted to kind of do arborvitaes and all that stuff and kind of split that property up with some landscape, but then COVID happened, hours get cut, money kind of changes and stuff like that. Another thing that kind of pops into my mind is just, I know that with construction comes construction equipment. Noise, I understand, happens, but also security. I know that as soon as people see expensive things out in the yard, they want to go see what they can get their hands on and run away with. My home has been robbed, and that's the only reason I put that out there. And I came home to thousands of dollars things missing in my home. I totally understand that the surrounding properties are multifamily homes. Totally get it. I guess my thing to just voice, and I don't need to tell you, but I just feel the need to say it out loud, just be super mindful of who you're bringing in. As far as, you know what I mean? And I mean that in the nicest way possible. Just because there will be rotating traffic right next to my home, which I understand happens anyways with the bus stop and the school buses. I get it, but, additional doesn't necessarily need to happen as long as it's good people. I did have one more thing. As just a side note, I've been in that property for a few years now. I don't know much about drainage and soilage and all that stuff, but I will tell you, the corner of my yard where some of your property, where your parking will be, that does take a really, really long time to dry up, and just throwing it out there for your sake, just so you do know, it does take, it's the wet the longest. It's always really soggy. For the moment, that's kind of what I have. Thank you for listening.
All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the public? Yes.
Good evening. Jennifer Wolf, 345 Wolcott Hill. Just as a point of clarification, Mr. Citino indicated he was required to submit drainage plans for a two-family, but it was not part of the package. Can you act on it without that?
If the drainage plans are part of the site development for the lot itself, that would be separate from the re-subdivision application.
Okay.
But at this point, we don't have anything from the engineering department, and,
So can you act on it without that material, or do you need to wait until you have the complete package, which hasn't been provided yet? I just don't understand your process and what's required.
Yeah, for a subdivision like this, we would need something from the engineering department reviewing the plans. And at that point, they may say, drainage calculations will be provided at the time a building permit is applied for each individual house. Because under subdivision regulations, what you're basically doing is approving the drawing of the lines. You're not approving the construction of any structure on any of the lots.
Okay.
So, I think if he were to put a one-family on each of the three lots, there wouldn't be the additional requirement. if he wanted to put a two-family in two of them, he would have to do it for two of them. But I think for what it is that we're here for tonight, there is less of a drainage engineering issue because we're only drawing the lines on the map. And, obviously, he would want to take into consideration making sure that there was enough room and
Sure.
the sloping and so forth. When he goes to apply for a permit to do the actual construction, he would have to demonstrate that the construction of that house on that lot wasn't going to, flow all over or overcharge the system in the street or anything like that.
Okay, so then for tonight, you don't have control over whether it's all single-family or if he uses a two-family with the proposal for all that blacktop, or you do?
I think the way the application has been written or presented, we're kind of at the point where I don't think he has sufficient frontage on a couple of the lots to be able to do the two families.
Okay.
So it might only be one of them that's eligible for it.
Okay. From my perspective, and I'm a chair of another commission in town, we do have some experience with Mr. Citino, and sometimes the plans have not been complete, and there have been details, and we keep having to come back. And so I'm just trying to get a handle on what he actually needs to be here tonight while everybody has a say, as opposed to later when the engineering department's looking at it and the neighbors don't have public notice and aren't going to know what's happening anymore. So I'm trying to get that hashed out. From my perspective as a neighbor, I would hate to see a 6-car parking lot. While it's 100% true that there are tons of two-family houses in the area, none of them have a 6-car parking lot paved up against a property line like this would be, visible from the road. I think it's a very different application than the rest of the grandfathered two-family houses we have in that area, and it would be a real shame to see that. I thank you.
Thanks. I mean, and just to kind of follow up on your conversation, I mean, I'm only speaking for myself, but I think, since planning hasn't had a chance to do a deep dive on these.
Right.
We have nothing from engineering, we have nothing from fire or anybody else.
Sure.
We're not going to be closing the hearing and acting on this tonight. I can't imagine.
Great.
So, if engineering has concerns and there are things that need to be provided at the subdivision stage of the application, we'll find out about it and he will, he will provide it.
Okay.
It's one of the things that's really, because we don't do so many subdivisions as we did 25 and 30 years ago.
Of course.
The scope of our jurisdiction and discretion on subdivision applications is basically, do these polygons comply with the zoning regulations? Yes. Okay, then you legally must approve it. So, do they match what's required under the zoning and subdivision regulations? Other than just kind of be a good neighbor and suggesting things and, requesting concessions, our ability to say, no, you can't do this on the development of either a single or a two-family residential property is somewhat limited by the legal constraints. I mean,
Sure.
When we're doing commercial stuff or significant multifamily where we have, zoning regulations and special permits and so forth, all bets are off as far as, what we can request. But in the context of, subdivision for particularly single-family residential, that, we don't have as much leverage over an applicant.
I guess in that case, what I would say, if there's some sort of variance or an exception needed in this case, because they don't have the frontage for a two-family or something like that, I would encourage you to approve a two-family division instead of a a three-lot division, so 2 lots instead of 3, if that's something that you can do.
Yeah, I mean, actually, as presented, he substantially exceeds the size
As
for
it
the
is.
lots and so
Okay.
forth.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
I mean,
much.
we had several pre-application just sort of brainstorming sessions about, different lot configurations, where the driveways were.
Right.
You know, and our conversations were geared toward minimizing the density as well as moving driveways away from the intersection.
Sure.
You know, to the greatest extent possible, and avoiding, you know, having people parking on the streets and so forth. And you know, so it's sort of a juggling act.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all your time. Thank
Right.
you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the public that wants to comment?
Only that, do I need to approach it?
Yes, yeah, not because we can't see you and hear you, it's because it's being recorded. And
Only that I would agree because of the amount of built-up area, the more you split a piece of property, the more dense the built-up area is going to be and the less natural vegetation you'll have to absorb, going back to the drainage again. If you do, I agree with the woman that spoke before, 2 lots would make more sense than 3. If you split it into 2, you have less built-up area.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public? If not, come on back up and let us know what you
I
think.
think I'm going to make everybody happy right now. So let's talk about the drainage.
We're going to adjourn?
No.
Oh,
I haven't installed an asphalt parking lot in 20 years. And I'll never do it until the day I die, because they're not cost effective. You have to replace them every 15, 20 years. The parking lots I proposed are pavers. So they're a pervious system. They accept the water. There's a gravel base. So,
Move the mic.
oh, I apologize. All my parking lots that I propose, aesthetically they're pleasing. They're paver parking spaces with a 10-inch gravel base below. So they accept the drainage, number one. Number two, for the 2-family house and the parking, I have no problem revisiting that and seeing if we can switch the house and move it further north and put the parking on the opposite side. I don't know if I can meet all the setbacks if I do that. So I'll have the surveyor look at it. I may come back to the board and say, here's a possible compromise. I'll reverse the house, but I might need 2 feet on one side or 3 feet on the other, because I don't know how that's going to affect. I believe he did that for the setbacks, but I will double check. In terms of fencing, I hate fences, and I won't put up a fence if you give me $1 billion. But I'll load it up with hemlocks. They'll take a few years to grow in, but I'll give you shrubbery. I will not put up a fence. Not going to happen, not in my lifetime. So I'll solve your drainage with a pervious parking area, pavers, which will look good for 30 years. And when a paver comes out of place, you go with the compact, you have a brand-new parking lot all over again. A paver gets in, pick it up and turn it over. You have a brand-new parking lot all over again. So I'll solve that problem. I'll solve the fencing problem. I have no problem revisiting the parking to switch. I really don't want to put the parking in the rear of the building. I kill the backyard. It defeats the purpose. So I hope I've addressed the concerns. I want to be a good neighbor. I'm not here to jam anything down anybody's throat. So I've listened to everything that you have to say, and I have no problem with the board if they approve the project stipulating that the parking areas are pavers and not asphalt. I have no problem with the board asking for, and you do it on numerous occasions when you approve a plan, that I install shrubbery, and we'll determine the type of shrubbery and the number of shrubs to go along the northern property. Because I know Mrs. DeBella's house. I've spoken on several occasions. We never met, but it's nice to meet you finally. So I understand your concerns greatly. I'll look at that area of the property where it's excessively wet. I may not be able to solve her problem, but I know when we do the parking area and we install that stone base, it actually creates a well for water to congregate and slowly percolate into the ground as opposed to running downhill. With that, I don't know what else to say, folks. The statement was just made that we meet all of the setbacks. What I'm asking the board to do is approve the reconfiguration of the lines with the understanding that this process starts all over again with 2 other agencies, building and engineering. And as far as the soil erosion, I apologize, is Derrick or my mind just went blank. I know Steve will be right there. If that erosion control is not in place, they're going to shut me down. They're right on top of it. So that's part of the process. That has to be in place. Before I can dig my foundation, I promise you, Derrick, Steve, or Don are going to drive by to see if that erosion control is in place. And Don, is Don still, I haven't seen Don in a while, though. Is Don still around, Don with the town? Big, tall Don? He's gone, did he retire? Big Don, he used to work with the Public Works.
Yeah, I retired, but
Oh, he did, okay.
he's been coming back some.
So I'm sure somebody took his place. They're going to drive by and check that erosion control constantly to make sure it's there. I don't want a complaint from a neighbor. Will I possibly damage one of your trees if it's next to my driveway? I have no problem posting a bond to protect that. So if your tree costs $500, I'll post a $1,000 bond. When the job is done, I ask that the funds be refunded after I repair whatever damage we may cause, because I may encroach on somebody's property. Backhoe may have to put down an outrigger for whatever reason, and I will come and speak to all my neighbors before we actually start construction. They all have my phone number, 24/7, they may call me. So I don't know what else to offer, folks. It's an improvement to the neighborhood. That's it. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Was I speaking out of turn when I said that you hadn't had a chance to look at all this and we don't have anything from engineering yet?
No, you were not speaking out of turn.
Okay.
That's correct. If I may just add.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, you rightfully, I think, pointed out that this is not a site plan review process. This is a re-subdivision application. And we're talking about making 3 lots, and those 3 lots exceed the requirements for lots in that zone. So the commission is obligated to adhere to what the zoning allows as far as the size of the lots, etc. He is showing 3 lots. The lot number 3, as the chairman had mentioned, is only 60 feet wide. And that, by zoning, would only allow a single-family house on that lot. The other 2 lots, if approved the way it's shown, would allow 2-family homes on each one. Now, he's proposing to have only 1 2-family house on there, but the commission, once you approve this, he can do anything that is allowed by the zoning. So just to let you know that.
May I make a correction? 2 2-families by zoning, because the frontage
That's what I said.
is only
That's what
70 feet and 60 feet.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what I said.
So it's only 2 2-families, 2 single families and 1 2-family. You mentioned 2 2-families.
I'm sorry, Frank. I mean, no. You're allowed, I'm sorry, I don't want to speak
No, it's all right.
directly to him. What is allowed, the way he has these lots configured, is he's allowed 2 2-family homes.
No.
He's allowed
2 single families, 2
he's
single
allowed-
families, 1 2-family.
The
I
requirement,
don't have the frontage for 2 2-families.
the requirement, sir, is that you need
75 feet frontage,
60 feet frontage for,
single, 75 for 2-family.
in the C.
Well,
Excuse me, anyway, that is,
yeah, we don't need to decide that tonight.
but my point is that you're looking to see, to establish 3 lots. The requirement for, the minimum requirement for a single family is 8,000 square foot lot.
6.
It's 6,000 and 8,000 for a 2-family lot. So based on that, that's why he's allowed two families and
No,
one single family.
I apologize, but no.
And one-
Your zoning code I apologize, gentlemen, but I've been at this for a long time, and I spent a lot of money. So when there's an inaccuracy, I cannot allow it to go on. The zoning requirements are 60 linear feet of frontage.
Correct.
For a single-family house. I could have 1,000,000 square feet. If I don't have 60 feet, I don't have it. The zoning requirements are
Sir,
70, I
do not
apologize,
talk to
Don.
me in
I
that
apologize.
manner,
No,
sir.
no,
No.
I
Come on,
apologize,
come on.
gentlemen. The zoning requirements are 75 linear feet of frontage for a two-family house. So I don't want these individuals to believe that I'm going to leave here tonight with the possibility of building two families. I don't want two families, and I did not design it for two families, and I'm not proposing two families. I don't meet the zoning requirements as proposed for two families. I meet the zoning requirements for 2 single-family residences and 1 two-family residence. Done. I apologize, but done.
For Lot 2, you're counting the frontage as being on Nott
The
Street,
front is determined by the lot of the minimum depth.
Right.
The minimum width.
and that's 70?
70. I need 75.
Right, okay.
So I apologize, gentlemen.
All right.
My position is
Mr.
this.
Chairman?
My position is this. I meet every requirement for subdivision. I would like that approved this evening, so that I can move forward with my architect, so on and so forth.
The proposal
I
on,
have paid
the proposal on the
$20,000
table,
taxes already.
Mr. Chairman, the proposal on the table is cut and dry. I don't know why the discussion on how many two families is relevant. We have a proposal on the table with a single-family house, and a two-family house. Frank has come before us in October of 19, and I think he had a justification when he was requesting 4 single-family homes on October of 19. He came back before us in June of 20 with 3 two-family homes. And then on June of 21, he had a proposal to build 6 two-bedroom units. Let's not put that aside, because I think you've given this board a variety of options in place. You've lessened the density, you've refined your presentation, you've given us a lot of detail, and you've compromised to the point where I think you said you might even live in some of these or have family living there.
My hope is, but it's.
You have some
my
family
home on
interest.
Wells Road is almost 3,000 square feet. It's too big. I'd like to sell Wells Road.
So I might be corrected, but I don't know, I don't think it has anything relevant other than a 1 two-family home, a single-family home. I think that's what we're approving with the qualifications that, that lot number 1 could go back to a 1-family home based on what you want. I think we were clear on that.
And I don't mind stipulating paver driveways are not blocked up. I hate
Yeah,
it.
agreed. Joe?
Mr. Chairman, I was just going to, if our staff, Dominick has not had a chance to look at this closely, and if the engineering department needs to look at it closely, then I'm going to suggest we stop the discussion for tonight and, continue the hearing so that we can get full input from our staff to verify that all of the detailed requirements that apply here are met.
And I apologize once again, folks. I made this application on February 28th. I was not made aware that the meeting in March wasn't going to be held until the day before. And that's okay, I understand something happened. And I know that early on, I would have been very understanding. I'll leave it at that. But I wasn't. My application's been in for a while. So if somebody hasn't had time to look at my application, fire their backside. Shame on them. Don't penalize me. I still have architecture to be done. I still have applications to be made. I'm asking for approval on one aspect, and that I meet the property lines as outlined by zoning. I exceed them. Yes, I'm frustrated. I exceed those lines. I expect an approval tonight. So I'm going to spend the rest of my money to get it done. For those of you who don't know, and I heard the conversation earlier, double your rates. Things are good. Lumber went from $15,000 to build this house to $45,000. Electrical went from $8,500 to $16,000. Roofing went from $4,500 to $7,200. Siding went from $6,500 to $9,800. I know the numbers like I know the back of my hand. Don't penalize me anymore. The only people that made money in this project so far, the town of Wethersfield, I paid my taxes. They're paid in full. Gentlemen, I apologize for the frustration, but I have given everything that has been asked of me. I tried to be a good neighbor, but don't take me for a fool. Don't take me over the coals. Allow me to move on with my life. I get phone calls from Charles every day. Frank, the grass, Frank, the grass, Frank, the grass. Charles, I can only do so much. I cut the grass. It's time to get rid of the eyesore. Let me move forward. You approve the lot lines. I then go through the process of satisfying engineering. I then go to the process of satisfying the building department. All that still needs to be done. All I'm asking you to do is your job, the property lines. I apologize for my frustration for it coming through. It's not beneficial, but not the better of me. Then I apologize. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I need clarification on this. Tony said that our job tonight is simply to look at the lot lines and make sure that this subdivision meets the requirements of our subdivision regulations. It does not say that we get to talk about the site. This is why I asked about, what about drainage? Apparently, it's a moot point. You either will or will not need it, and it's something that's going to be done in the future. If everything else on this site is not within our jurisdiction tonight, then I agree with this applicant. We should just move and decide if this, you said it, if this arrangement of polygons meets our subdivision regulations. So I'm prepared to act on this tonight, and
Then make a motion.
I'd like, well, let me switch.
Our subdivision regulations are 75 or 100 pages long. Are you satisfied that this meets everything that's in there? Or do we want to allow our professional staff to advise us of that?
I can simplify that for you.
You can be quiet, too.
I'm very
Please.
frustrated, I apologize.
Let me ask you, how come the staff hasn't done that already?
I don't know.
I'm under the assumption,
You know.
well,
I'm not throwing you, but why haven't they done this? Again, I'm not on the board that long either, but I've seen him 3 times. Again,
So
you know,
Dominick,
at some point,
let me just ask Dominick, is there any concern with the arrangement of these polygons?
No, not just looking at this right there.
So do you feel that there needs to be more time for staff?
I have not reviewed this plan. I mean, matter of fact, I looked at this plan at 10 o'clock last night. And, just so I can make a presentation to the board. And that's about the extent that I was able to get to it. Okay? And whether it, the whole issue as far as drainage, he is correct. He will, when he goes for a building permit, he's gonna have to prove that's drainage. But also, your subdivision regulations require a drainage plan. And that's what he's before you with, is a subdivision. So, I mean, yeah, I don't have the luxury of knowing what the engineering department right now is gonna be saying about the
You
drainage.
don't need it, though.
Well, why?
He just said he did.
Yeah, see, this is confusing. I hear you need it, and then I hear you don't need it.
Your
So-
regulations, your subdivision regulations call for a drainage plan.
All right, so that's,
I mean,
He
that's-
said he needed it for tonight and he didn't have it. He said that was the thing he needed for tonight that he didn't have.
Folks, I have 5 grandchildren, I'm gonna buy them ice cream. You guys have a wonderful night. I'll call tomorrow to find out the status of this, and I guess we'll deal with it in 2 weeks. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen, but gentlemen, I appreciate, some of you men have been on this board for many, 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 many years.
Frank, why don't you just sit down and wait? Give us another 20 minutes, okay? Give us another 20 minutes. I think we're trying to cut to the chase. We're trying to identify. I'm more concerned that you gave a submission for us to review this 2 months ago, and it's been in the town hall, in the office of the town planner, for 60 days plus, the same package that we're looking at now. For 2 months it's been here. That's a strong concern. It borders on abusive to you.
Their lack of frustration.
I mean, I got this just a couple of days ago, like everybody else. I was under the assumption this had all been reviewed by staff. And at least on the level of what's required, it's okay. If that's not the case, then I guess we can't vote on it tonight. If there's open issues that we don't know about. I'm really at a
Yeah, I mean,
loss of what
that
to
was,
do here.
that was, the impression that I was under was that, Dominick hadn't had a chance to look at it. Engineering may or may not have had a chance to look at it, and
Well, should we
I'm
be
not gonna-
apologizing to the applicant, Mr. Chairman? He finished this, he's been before us almost 2 years.
well, I mean, and this is the first actual plan that's been submitted too, but, yes, we should apologize to the applicant for not being able to process things in a timely manner. It's circumstances beyond our control up here,
Agreed.
and we're sorry for it, and,
Frustration, not directed at you, my frustration.
no, I understand that. I mean,
Right.
and, obviously, none of us are taking it personally. It's just, we can only do what we can do. I mean, we're all volunteers who received this on Thursday or Friday in a font too small to see, hoping that we would get the memos from the engineering department a day or so ahead of time so that we could, look and see what the issues, if any, are that remain. I mean, he's usually got, 25 or 30 kind of nitpicky things. I mean, you know that as well as anyone, that we're willing to, more often than not, just kind of approve over. But without even having that, I just don't think we should, I don't think we can move forward on this tonight. And again,
We'll carry this for 2 weeks.
yeah.
And I want the understanding this evening. I was informed by Derrick, on a two-way conversation. I did not need calculations for the single-family residences. Not needed at any time in the process. That land has been there since God created it. Anybody have a pool in their backyard now, because you can have it now, I didn't create it. And I may not be able to solve it. So if there are no known problems with flooding, there'll be no new ones. And I'll post a bond to that. I have no problem doing that. When we carry this forward for 2 weeks, with the understanding, I will not be spending $5,000 on drainage calculations for the two-family property unless I proceed to make an application to the building department to construct a two-family home. That's the only time, that's all I ask. So that's, we'll continue this for 2 weeks,
No.
don't want to put anybody on the spot, I'm okay with that. But tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, I'm going to my architect and
Mr.
start
Chairman.
proposing my plans.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I mean, and I understand
I
what.
just don't want to get thrown a curve out of left field.
Well, we're not going to be the ones throwing the curve because we don't have
That's fine.
the authority for it, so,
Because I can simplify this part right now. In terms of zoning, it's one page in the zoning regulations. 60 feet, 75 feet, 5 and 10, 5 or 15, with an aggregate of 15 square footage, do I meet those lines? The answer is yes. That's a real simple one.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we continue this for 2 weeks.
Second.
But we haven't closed the hearing yet. I mean,
no, that's what they're doing.
Is the public hearing still open?
Continuing this hearing.
Continuing the hearing, keeping it
Will we
open.
ask if the public has additional questions and follow up to
They've
these
talked.
questions? Or, the public hearing's still here.
I think we've got to put to bed, do we need anything else from the town or not? So,
I think we all agree on that.
yeah, so,
I
I mean,
was
the
part-
applicant has been gracious enough to grant us 2 weeks. I'm saying, let's go ahead and take a continuation, and let's get the town to do their job.
I have a history with this concept, having been part of a family adventure on Edgewood Road in Wethersfield. When that 6-lot subdivision went in, my family sold that subdivision to a West Hartford developer, and the property that I retained through family had water on it all the time. The drainage issue is significant. I agree, we need to have engineering for 2 points. Number one, is engineering involved with the wetlands issue, like
Right.
Frank is saying? If they're not, because he comes back with what we are, that's fine. Or does the wetlands issue come into play?
Right.
so I agree completely 100%.
We have
But I just-
unknowns at
it's
this
just-
point.
I'm just saying that for the public review, in 2 weeks from now, it could be a 5-minute approval.
Yeah,
Right.
But it'll be a public hearing then too, so,
Agreed, so you can
No.
come back to this
the
again.
motion made and seconded, Mr. Chairman.
yeah, I'm on top of that.
Okay.
All right, any further discussion?
None?
All in favor of continuing the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain?
Okay, thank you.
Time for ice cream.
Very much. Now I'm going to buy my breakfast.
No, time for ice cream.
Yeah, you earned the ice cream. Yeah, so it'll be April 19th, 2022. If it's not in person, you'll know about that ahead of time.
Frustrating, I can see it.
All right, next item, because we've had some changes in personnel, we have to add some authorized signatories to sign letters and notices on behalf of the commission. So the names that we're seeking to have added as authorized signatories would be Denise Bradley, Dominick Caruso, and Derrick Gregor.
So moved.
Okay.
Second,
Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, next item, because Gary Evans is no longer here, Bonnie Therrien as interim town manager would be an ex officio member.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Training certificates to be awarded to Commissioners Deane and Leombruni from the AquaTurf Palooza.
You guys missed a good night. You should have been there.
Good night, huh?
And I don't want to rain on your parade, but OPM says any training before January 1st doesn't count. But you still get a certificate suitable for framing.
Put that on my wall.
Yeah, you can be like Tony, you can put it up behind you on the Zoom meetings.
Pat and show.
I'm in another office, Rick.
You made it.
And Tom, Dominick has yours. Do you want him to mail it to you, or do you want to come pick it up sometime?
I'll pick it up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, minutes of March 1st, 2022.
Motion to approve, Mr.
Second.
Chairman.
All right. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
I abstain, I wasn't here.
Okay, Tom Deane, Tony Humicki abstaining. Staff reports. Do you have any staff report?
No, Mr. Chairman, at the end of the meeting, I'd like to go into executive session for a minute just to talk on personnel
All right.
matters.
All right, so we will have to add that to the agenda before we adjourn then. Public comments on general matters of planning and zoning? Do you have any public comment?
I'm just here observing because I have a process coming into play on the 19th, and I wanted to see how this stuff works. And you find, gentlemen, basically giving your time up to deal with this is kind of impressive. And I know some people sometimes don't appreciate that, but everybody has their own time to do things. And the reason why I'm here was kind of shoot and get an idea on what my project is before I present it. So if there's any possibilities you guys might want some kind of changing or some additional information, I can make sure I have it present on the 19th.
Well, because it's a special permit application with a public hearing, we probably shouldn't talk about it before then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just, if you guys have any additional, you might tell me I might need to bring. This is, I just wanted to hear that.
No, I think you probably saw from the first one what kind of conversation we have about special permit
Yeah.
uses, so.
Mine's much more refined than that. So,
Okay,
okay, I
Good.
pretty much hear what I need to hear then.
all right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I'll get on
Oh,
that.
here, This would be, so you can have this this is the new revised site plan. I was
Okay.
gonna give it to you anyways.
Thank
Nice to
you.
see today.
Yeah, you too, Ann.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, George, did you have something?
No,
Oh,
it's just-
I thought you wanted to talk about the backyards on,
No, I just think that we ought to have some discussions on that. Doesn't have to be now, and it may not be until we get a new town planner, I don't know. The point is that it bothers me to go down there, and this is the second or third time I've had to approve that site. And we'll have other sites along there. And how far back do you go? And you go down into their parking lots, or most of them, and there's a lot of, used to use the old term, tule weeds back in there, and, toward Beaver Brook. And I think the town has a responsibility, and the Inland Wetlands Commission, to tell us what they want to do about Beaver Brook. And do they want anything more done, like require applicants to come in on that stretch of highway, and there'll be others coming in. How far back do we go to have them clean it, and do they have any plans for that? I don't know. Maybe it's a matter to be taken up when we get a new town planner and all that kind of stuff. But something, I think we ought to do it. I keep seeing it, and I'm not sure, just, should I feel toward any applicant coming in, I want you to go back 30 feet, back toward Beaver Brook, because you do own it, and you ought to keep it maintained. But I don't think we want to do that, but I don't know.
She's not an owner, though.
And is the town, or will the state come in and assist with some kind of work along there? I don't know. And there have been plans, haven't there, I think, with having running roads back at some of the properties on the east side of the Silas Deane Highway. I know I've seen them come up recently because the Economic Development Commission is concerned about why the state wants to make the Silas Deane Highway their secondary road to 91 when there's an accident. And, why, and we've had plans, the plan of development, the Silas Deane plan showing roadways back of most of the businesses along the whole Silas Deane Highway. This is one area where we might be able to start. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too much to our planning function and we never do here.
The only thing is, George, this is just one girl wanted to rent a room, wrong person. The young girl wanted to rent a room, wrong person like that. You represent right.
No.
But she just wanted to rent a room, that's all, to babysit from 3 to 5. That wasn't the person.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
and
it could be addressed, I'm sure write letters.
I think the last couple of times that we looked at site work in that area, I mean, the concern was the parking lot sloping down and then having, kind of the drainage structures because they didn't want to go far back, but,
Yeah, right.
you know.
Other parts of the Silas Deane to the south of that have structures in there and stuff like that, but this is a more natural area, and Beaver Brook is supposedly a natural area in the planning, of everybody's planning that's going on.
Yeah, I mean,
What's going to be done about it in the near future? And these are examples coming up one at a time, over time, and there'll be more of them than this one. And this is my second or third time with it, and this is the bad thing about being on here so long. You see these things more than once, and you say to yourself, well, what are we really doing in this area? Anyway, I'm done. Sorry.
All right.
Don't mean to lecture.
Okay, thanks.
So part of the minutes, George, I think it's justified, and other boards and commissions should be involved. In the past, we have had collaborative efforts, and we're on the verge of opening up the 10-year master plan again, I think, in the next
Yeah.
1, 2, or 3 years, and it should be a priority.
And we'll probably be saying the same things we said in the last one.
10 years from now, right? But your name will be on record, George.
All right, thanks.
Oh, you're welcome.
Correspondence, the outdoor food and beverage, the current set of regulations that was supposed to have expired March 31st has been continued for another year. And
Out of curiosity, does that mean that Charles is just going to redo it on the parking lot this year?
I have no idea what they're going to
Okay.
do, but I thought that was,
What do you mean you got no
that's what he
idea?
said.
That's what I told them from the start.
yeah, well, I mean, it was the
I
kind of
thought
thing.
they were going ahead with this thing.
Well, they applied for something based on the idea that they were going to do something different because they had to do something different, but now that the law is that they can do the same thing, they may end up doing the same thing.
Oh, you mean they don't need us anymore?
Well,
because
not
of that.
for another
I didn't
year.
realize
Right,
they-
Yeah,
So we'll see, I guess.
They
They,
got
did
a
that
one-year
to us in
extension,
the
George,
legislature.
so he just doesn't.
Yeah,
have-
well,
Hey, you got your proposal.
De
the way
facto,
things are
de
going.
facto.
yeah. And,
Anyway.
all right, and there were a couple of letters from other towns about
Yeah.
things. 512 to 516 Silas Deane, and it's 245 Main Street, the same brewery that we talked about before?
Absolutely.
Is this the same, or is this different?
Same.
Without going into any of the substance, since it's a public hearing, I'm just curious, how is that use different than what we approved? It's a different category?
With-
I think maybe it's a different applicant?
Oh,
Is this
I
going
thought
down
the
Yeah.
applicant failed.
Same applicant, basically the same
Is that bad
use.
rumor?
There was a question on the handicap spaces.
Okay,
And he's adding a garage to the site this time.
okay.
I heard the applicant has failed financially.
No, we can't talk about that.
Yeah.
You can't, okay. well.
Not
We're still
on
We're
TV.
still on public record.
Yeah,
So it is the boondoggle one, right?
Yes, it
Yes.
is.
Okay.
yeah.
so do we need to add an item to the agenda, Mr. Chairman, right now?
Yeah, I think Tom's indicated he wants to have an executive session on personnel matters, so would someone like to add executive session regarding personnel matters to the agenda?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Is there a second? I'll second it.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the motion?
To add to the agenda, going into executive session to discuss personnel matters.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
So do we need to,
Well, we need to move to go into executive session and to invite
Okay.
Dominick Caruso to join with us. Turn off the TV. You can go. We'll tell you when we adjourn.